Joining us now for more on the story, Steve Loomis, detective with the Cleveland Police Department and president of the Cleveland Police Patrolmen's Association. All right, Steve, great to have you with us. Let's talk about a little bit about what we heard about in that press conference that Rob talked about there. Police officials saying that this person jumped a curb, drove into pedestrians who obviously were defenseless and probably caught completely off guard, then got out and started stabbing them. What does that say to you about what exactly went down here?
Well, it's absolutely pre-planned. In my mind, anyhow, to pull a fire alarm to get everybody outside. That's the key to that.
But and that's been a question, too, because that came up in the press conference. There have been reports, so people know that there was somebody who had pulled a fire alarm, and that sent people outside where they would have been in the path of this car. Somebody asked a question about that at the press conference, and it didn't seem like we got a full-fledged answer on exactly what may have happened, because then, of course, raises the question whether somebody was working in concert with the person who was driving the car. And it seems unclear at this point.
Or it could have been him. And the investigation will pan out, but the men and women of the police department up there did an outstanding job. The students did an outstanding job. It's unfortunate that we have to train our students to be prepared for these types of situations in this country. We had a similar event up here at Case Western Reserve College in downtown Cleveland years ago, and it's just a tragedy that we have to expect these things and train and prepare everybody for them. But they were well prepared, and they did an outstanding job. Yeah,
I mean, to neutralize this threat within a minute of getting a call and arriving on scene, pretty incredible. And we know that they've talked about running these drills, being prepared for these situations. Something I thought was unusual, a number of the witnesses said that the attacker apparently was silent during this whole thing, wasn't saying anything, wasn't giving anything that would have been a clue as to motive. What does that say to you about maybe the mental stability of this individual or the motivation as this was going on, that they said not a word?
Yeah, I would be hesitant to even guess, but most people that go around with a hatchet trying to kill people are crazy in some way, shape, or form. The investigation will pan out. I'm sure the FBI and the feds are involved in it now to find out and search homes and things like that. So they're going to do a fine job with the investigation to lead us to a motive and those types of things. So,
well, they're calling it an active crime scene. Obviously, this just hours ago transpiring, and saying that there's very much just the start of this active investigation going on. What will be the next steps? You talked about reaching out and branching out from here. How do they put this puzzle together?
Well, they'll get this individual identified. They'll get phone records. They'll get computer records. They'll get warrants for his house or campus dorm or wherever it is that he stays. They'll do some Facebook surfing and they'll get to the bottom of what the motivation is, one way or the other. Trust me on that. And they always do. The feds and they do a very good job in looking into these types of situations. And unfortunately, there's people that live among us that want to do us harm. These kids are just going to school, trying to get an education, and didn't deserve that. But they did a great job.
How much do you worry as a law enforcement officer? How much do you worry about the fact that there are these targets, college campuses, malls, whatever it is, where you don't expect to have a lot of people on campus or in the area who are going to be expecting this, maybe armed with weapons of their own for self-defense? What do we begin to do to reassure college students, parents of college students, and people who look at these campuses as potentially soft targets?
Yeah, it's very, very difficult to defend soft targets, as we saw in France. This is reminiscent of that in a much smaller scale. You have to educate your kids, educate your families. I'm a father with kids in college and in high school, and teenagers going to the mall and everything else. And that's exactly right. You run, you fight, you hide, or in the opposite order. It doesn't matter, but you do not just sit there and watch these things happen. You have to be aggressive about getting yourself out of that situation. And these college kids were well trained. The college campus seemed like they had a
good alert
policy in place. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And then the response from the first responders was incredible. Less than a minute to neutralize that situation. Is a fantastic response time, and thank
Probably
God for that,
saved
because
lives.
nobody got killed.
Yeah, probably saved a lot of lives there. And I heard one young woman talking about the fact that she was in a graduate school class where a lot of people who were fellow students were former military who were with her, and she felt like she was in great hands. And listen, if you're going to be trapped in that situation, I can't imagine better classmates to be with. So kudos to our first responders and also our veterans who are there on campus.
Yeah, training. Not only for the first responders, but for the law-abiding citizens out there, not just college people. You have to be watching your six right now, unfortunately. So.
Yeah. Steve Loomis, thank you so much, sir. Good to see you today.